This is a true story that happened to my family in WAUSAU, Wisconsin. I was around 13 years old. I had 5 brothers, 2 sisters, and 1 mom. My dad passed away from leukemia around 1999. As we first moved into that house, it was a little sketchy. The owner rented out for us for a very low price, so with my mom being the only supporter, she rented the house for us. Throughout the months, my mom started experiencing paranormal happenings. She knew that there was something in the house but didn't want to tell us kids because we had to live in the house for another 3 years or so due to a contract. The girls shared one room and the boys had their own. My mom would sleep downstairs in her own room. One by one, all of my siblings started to experience things. The first encounter was my brother, who was the middle child. He was one of those naughty kids who would go out late at night and was not scared of anything. One night, when he got home, he was too tired, so he slept on the couch. Later that night, he heard knocking, like someone was at the door. Opening his eyes, he saw a white figure by the corridor, just standing there, looking at him. He went back to sleep, not caring too much. Once he closed his eyes, the figure started to knock on the wall again. It wouldn't stop knocking until my brother got so annoyed he sat up and started to cuss at it. The thing or figure then disappeared. Later that month, he then experienced other things, such as someone looking at him or sitting on him. He decided to come and sleep with the girls next to the closet. This next experience was with my sister now. In the same room we slept in, we didn't think much of the room but thought it was scary because it used to be a bathroom, but now it was a bedroom and had a closet. We slept on the same bed with my little sister, and of course, my brother slept with his bed pushed up against the closet. One night, as we were all sleeping, all of a sudden my oldest sister got up, like someone was trying to tell her to get up. She checked the alarm and it was 3 in the morning. She then looked out our window and saw something. Outside our window is a backyard with a lamppost in the center. Near the lamppost was a figure of a girl with super long hair and a white dress like in the movies. That thing was looking right at her. It scared her to death as she turned around, only to find another figure standing right at the end of the bed. This time, it was wearing a black dress. She started to wake me up and shake me, but being the deep sleeper I was, I didn't get up until a couple of seconds later. "What is it? I'm trying to sleep." Go open the light." "For what?" "Just do it." I then turned on the light, went back to sleep while she laid there, terrified. The next day, she told my mom what she experienced and told our entire family. My mom just told her that she was lying, but little did we know she knew the truth. As for my little sister, every night she got sat on. My sister and I didn't realize until one night we were talking. My little sister was breathing heavily. We shook her and she woke up. My older sister said, "Why are you breathing so hard?" My little sister then replied, "Oh, I got sat on every night." We were surprised she didn't tell us until then. She said that when she got sat on, she would feel her entire body get cold and a tingly sensation, and then she'd hear someone laughing while she was being sat on. Many things happened in that house, and I will never forget it. Here is a continuation of the previous story. Enjoy. Anyways, my brother slept in the same room as us. It wasn't long until he also finally started to experience things again. We, the sisters, hated sleeping with him. He was always controlling and grumpy, and just unfortunate for us girls, he had his stereos in the room, always blasting music. Seriously, if he had a problem with us in the room, why the hell would he even choose to sleep with us? Especially when it was our room first. A little side note, we had an attic upstairs between the 2 bedrooms where the girls and the boys were separated. There was no door, so we used cardboard to cover it up. Later on in the months, he would sleep in that room alone. One night, just as he was about to sleep, he heard something coming from our closet that was in our room. The last stupid thing he could have done was open the damn closet and check. But unlike those movies, he just slept there, pretending that he didn't hear anything. Throughout the night, he heard a little girl crying coming from the closet in the room. This freaked him out for the first couple of days, but later he got used to it and didn't care as much. Because he slept with his bed covering the closet, every night he'd have nightmares. Somehow, after all that, my brother didn't bother sleeping in the room with us. Instead, he stopped coming home for a while. We never knew why, but he just didn't come home as often. Not long after, my sisters and I started to sleep in the room again because we didn't want to sleep on the living room floor. Smart as we were, we all decided to take turns sleeping on my brother's bed too. There was a queen-size bed and a twin bed. The first was my little sister. Unlucky for her, she was the first to experience those nightmares. Unfortunate as well, she still got sat on. The funny thing was that all of us took turns sleeping on the bed to see if it was just her who experienced this. My older sister, who is a year older than me, also had nightmares. When it came to my turn, I wasn't surprised of what I dreamt of, but woke up in terror. In my dream, there was a girl who was chasing me with a knife, laughing hysterically while saying, "I'm gonna get you." It was the scariest dream I've ever experienced. Lesson learned. My little sister and oldest sister also had similar dreams, except they were being followed by a man in the dark. For me, I never experienced sleepwalking until that house. This happened about a couple of weeks after our dream incident. You know those dreams where you wake up but you're not really awake and you think you're awake? It might be confusing, but here's how mine went. I was sleeping with my sisters one night when all of a sudden I woke up. To me, it seemed like morning already as the sun was making its way up. While I was sleepwalking, it all seemed so real. As I was sitting on my bed, I was wondering why people weren't awake yet. All of a sudden, I heard fresh pork being fried. You know that sound when you first put the pork in the bowl with the oil already popping? It sounded just like that. I made my way out of bed and heard my mom calling someone. Making my way down the stairs, I walked down so slow, as if I was afraid of something. The moment I got to the bottom of the stairs, I woke up. Confused, I looked to see if my mom was in the kitchen, only waking up to pitch darkness. I was scared, so I ran back upstairs to sleep with my sisters. As all kids do, I told my mom. She didn't believe me and said it was only a dream. She knew there was something in the house, but didn't want to tell us because she didn't want us to be scared. With all of us still going to school, my mom was usually home alone until 2 in the afternoon. She would experience many things while she was home alone. It even got to the point where she wouldn't want to stay home after we were all gone, or she would come home late at night to all of us, asleep. One of her experiences was while she was on the couch talking to her best friend, she then saw a figure of a man on the TV screen. Turning around quickly, the figure disappeared. However, on a different day, the same thing occurred. One day, as she was talking on the phone, her friend stopped her from their conversation and said, "Is there someone else with you?" "No, why?" "Because I keep hearing someone talking in the background." I'll be over in a bit." Scared, my mom got out of the house as soon as possible and went to her friend's house. She told her friend later that no one was in the room with her. Her friend also would come to babysit us sometimes. We got out of school and went over to her house that night. Later on, she told my older sister what my mom experienced. A week or so went by and my mom was home alone again. While cleaning, all of a sudden, the top of the house started to shake. But I guess to her, it was like a bunch of teens having a drinking party upstairs, but with no noise. Terrified, she was about to make her way upstairs until a toy bear dropped downstairs. This time, she got out of the house faster than last time. Again, she went to her friend's house. From those moments on, we would wait for my mom to get home, which was usually around 11 p.m. Sometimes we got sick and my mom would call the school in a heartbeat because we were sick. Therefore, she wasn't so scared because she had someone home with her. Sometimes she'd lie to us that she was going to the store and would tell us to go with her. We'd usually go because, of course, the store meant that we got candy. She never told us, but she was truly ready to move out of that house. My other brothers experienced many things, but at most times, it was a little girl crying. My brother, the middle one that would sleep with us, every time when he got home, he would blast the music. Right after, when he got done showering, he went up into our room because his clothes were in the closet. The moment he opened the closet, something grabbed his foot. He said that what he saw was a white hand grab him. After that, he got super sick and slept a lot. He didn't get up to eat as much or socialize, but locked himself inside of his room. He took medicine but didn't get well as fast, only until a couple of weeks later. With so much happening, my mom decided to call one of those Thailand shamans. The shaman said, "The reason why your children keeps on experiencing things is because 3 people died in that house. A mom, a dad, and their daughter. They want the house to be at peace and they hate loud noises and people yelling. They say that if you don't get out of the house, they will take someone with them." At that time, it was my oldest sister who was sick, my brother, and my mom. As a mom would do, she would try to save her children. My mom couldn't do anything at that time because of the contract with the house. It was until one night when she finally realized that it was time to get out. At the time, I didn't want to experience anything else, so my sister and I went to spend the night at my mom's friend's house. On the same night, as my mom got home from work and got done showering, like any Hmong parent, she was drying her hair by the heat. All of a sudden, she heard a loud, eerie laugh, like those witch laughs. This frightened my mother, but she knew she had to be tough. She screamed at it in Hmong, saying, "How dare you come and try to scare me and my children like that? You're asking to get hurt, aren't you?" And as a cultural thing, you're supposed to act as if you see them. My brothers also heard the same laugh and woke up, but my mom lied to them and said that it was nothing. The next night, everyone was home besides my mom. Around 10 to 11 p.m., my mom called to our house telling us to go over to her friend's house and pretend that we were going to the store. My oldest brother woke all of us up and told us that we were all going to the store. And so we all went over to my mom's friend's house and she was there waiting to tell us the news. We all went there to listen to what she had to say. She finally told us the truth on the house along with her friend, telling us some of the events that my mom experienced because she was too terrified and scared to tell us. My mom knew that there was something in the house all along but didn't want to tell us because we were going to be scared and didn't want to come home. We then told the landlord, and that was when he finally told us the truth. He said that those strange occurrences was the reason why the people before us moved out of the house. He said that if we do continue living there, he'd lower the electricity bill and everything else so we could live there with no bill problems. We spent our time living with my mom's friend while we found a new house. Strangely enough, as we went back a couple of days later, the house had a smell to it. The walls and the wallpaper looked kind of rotten and had a creepy look to them. As soon as we moved into our new house, we got rid of all the couches and bed in our house in case the spirit moved along with the furniture. It was truly an eye-opener for the whole family and especially to those who doubt the existence of ghosts. They exist. Some are good, but the ones we encountered were something else. Dude, this story was pretty good. Interested in sharing your stories? Submit them to HmongChronicles@gmail.com or in the description below. Here is the next story. Thank you. About 2 years ago, something extremely terrifying happened to me. I was driving down a quiet country road in Wisconsin around 1 a.m. coming back from a road trip. It was just me in the car with the radio on. Suddenly, my engine made this weird noise. It sounded like something had exploded. I pulled over into the dark, lonely countryside road. I got out of the car and walked to the front to check my engine. As I bent down towards the car, I felt what I thought was a hand touching my shoulder. I turned around, but no one was there. I continued to check out my car, and the hand kept on touching my shoulder for a couple more times. After a while, I got too scared and went back into my car. I locked all the doors and called for help because my car was still not working. Because it was 1 in the morning, no one answered, so I sat in my car for about 30 minutes to see if the engine would work. While I was waiting, I saw bright white eyes approach my car. I thought it was a deer or perhaps even a bear. I closed my eyes and opened them, and the white eyes were gone. Thankfully, my car started again after waiting. I drove really fast out of the scary countryside road and got back home safely. A few weeks later, strange things started to happen. I was hearing footsteps in my house when I was home alone. The doors would open and shut by themselves, and my TV would turn on and off. I called in a paranormal investigator and told her my story about the country road in my house. She told me that the night I stopped on the country road, there was an abandoned house half a mile away from me. In the late 1920s, a little girl disappeared into the woods nearby. Her body was found later in the basement. The investigator said that the spirit was touching my shoulder and she got into the car with me when I left. Apparently, when I came home, she followed me in and is now haunting my place. I now live in New York City, going to culinary school. My old house is now sold. Well, I guess that's someone else's problem now. 1998, WAUSAU, Wisconsin. My uncle and his family used to live in a small house with some very odd markings within parts of the living room. As a kid, I pictured that it was some hipster artist attempting to be cheesy and snazzy about his skills and using some purple liquid to permanently seal his work onto the housing wall for future buyer frustration. Fortunately, I thought nothing of it, as the pictures consisted of funky skulls and a star symbol, which is rather similar to those satanic cult drawings you see on TV. As time went by, I would hear rumors and gossips jumping from one family member to the next. My grandmother reported being pulled down the stairs and something hiding the closet. You know, creepy things that you allow your mind to play on you when you let the darkness get the best of you. Needless to say, I never witnessed or saw anything out of the ordinary. However, I was present during one of those silly incidents. My brother and I were in the living room playing King of Monsters. It was such a fun game. This was when we heard our uncle shout from the kitchen with my auntie. At the time, my auntie was preparing a meal and something started yanking the closet latch from within the bathroom. In this part of the house, the bathroom had a closet under the stairs for storing stuff. It didn't have a knob, but just a latch. According to my uncle's testimony, he said it was like someone was trying to force themselves out of the door. It scared my uncle so much, he whipped out a Hmong knife from the sink and asked us to support him should something or someone pop out of that closet. Seriously, we were like 12 or something at that time, but my uncle proceeded to then open the door. And well, you know the rest. Nothing. But I can't say it was nothing. My uncle is not one to make things up and play with knives without an actual reason. Fact alone that something spooked him enough to draw out the power of the Hmong blade signified that there might be something in that house. My auntie would call us over at times to sleep over due to fear that something was in that house. But who knows, I was just a kid who enjoyed my Super Nintendo. This house was located on Callan Street West in Wausau, Wisconsin.